none of us really care. We're just doing what we do. This whole fundraising thing has been a new world for me, but I've embraced it. And the only reason I've been able to embrace it is because I believe so passionately in what we're doing. I don't mind asking anybody for money. When people say, I love the Indie, I read the Indie, I don't say thanks first. First, I say, are you a donor? And then I say thanks. And if they say I'm not a donor, I say, why not? And so what's really been gratifying, I know I'm going on a little too long, and we probably have to wrap up anyhow.
Oh, your time. I mean, I could do this all afternoon, but is
that during the pandemic, when I went public with our financial situation, which was we were broke, is the hundreds upon hundreds, and I think it's up to 600 or 700 readers now who have come forward and become recurring monthly donors to help us stay in business. We also got a foundation grant. We've had a couple of generous individuals as well. But we're not out of the woods yet by a long shot. But at least I can say to my team, I don't have to worry when I wake up if I can pay you even the cut salaries that I'm paying you. And so that's been really, really gratifying. If there's a silver lining, it's that people have really shown us that they really do want us to stay in business. They care about what we're doing. And they're willing to pay for it, even if it's $5 a month or $10 a month. In some ways, coming out of a month where I've gotten 50 new recurring donors, even at a small amount, is more gratifying to me than getting a $25,000 contribution from them, because they're going to be there for a long time.
Well, it means they trust you, and it means that your work stands on its own. And that goes back to something very early in the conversation where I said that you and your staff have an incredible amount of faith and confidence that what you're doing is going to work. It's going to be sustainable, and you don't need to go chase down all the flashy gimmicks. And there may be competitors that rise and fall and all that stuff. And there may be people doing it the wrong way. And you just don't have to worry, because integrity, it avails itself, right? It self-presents and it self-manifests. And I think as you're talking, I was thinking about the donors. They're not worried about pulling their funding because you called them on something, because transparency begets other transparency. And if your donors are transparent and they're doing the reasonable thing and they make a mistake, they're probably going to be the first ones to own it anyway. And so they won't mind you writing about it, because they're like, yeah, we already know this. That's fine. And they're going to keep supporting that, because eventually they know the ripple effect will take over, and we'll all become way more accountable, and we'll all become more productive and benefit society in a greater way. So, I mean, I think, to kind of put a bow on this whole thing, I mean, the point of journalism is to hold the elites and the powerful and the government accountable. And that's good, because sunlight disinfects, as we all know. And not in like insert it in your body and kill the virus kind of way. Yeah. But it really truly helps advance all causes when you can do that honestly and authentically. You wrote a book that I happened to read, and I really liked it because I was involved in many campaigns during that time. It was called The Anointed One. I want to give a plug because it was great. Anybody who's been in Nevada for any period of time should go back and read this. It was about the Gwynn campaign when Kenny Gwynn was running for governor. It's really great. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about, are you going to write any more books soon? I know you're swamped, but
before the pandemic hit, I actually had 2 book proposals in the works, and I don't have time to do one with what I do. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to become of them. I can't really talk about them right now, but they are both books that what I liked about doing The Anointed One was it wasn't really about Kenny Gwynn's race as much as it was to show how Nevada politics works.
It was the dynamics. It was really cool.
Small group of people really control a lot of different things. Those are the things I'm interested in writing about, and using the stories of people again in Nevada to talk about greater themes. Both of these books that I'm considering doing, if I ever get around to them, or if we ever get publishers interested in them, are similar in that way.
That's cool, because I really appreciated the level of detail, and you even acknowledged in there, you're like, I might lose some friends and some contacts over this, and I don't think that ended up being the case, right?
I don't remember. So that's 20 years now since that was published. Jake, I mean, listen, there were some people whose feathers were ruffled over certain things in the book, but losing friendships. Now, one of the things I've been able to do through my career is piss off a lot of people who still remain my friends, because I think that even if they got mad at what I did, they knew I was at least trying to be fair. Now, doesn't mean there aren't a lot of people out there who don't like me, but I think there are a lot more people who appreciate what the kind of passion and the ethics and the desire for fairness I brought to what I did every day.
Yeah, agreed. All right. I'm going to wrap this up because we've droned on long enough, and put two of us in the room. We could probably talk all evening, but
It's been a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff, and I love that you're interested in it too. It really means a lot to me.
It's neat. And I wanted to do it because it matters. It's something that I think is on a lot of people's minds these days. Like, where do I get my accurate information? And the takeaway for me is, read more. That's it. Just like, I read about that. Read more, read everything, and have a strong enough ego to let it dissolve when confronted with something that doesn't feed your echo chamber or your confirmation bias. And I think that's really important. That's the lesson to everybody. You want to really know something, be courageous enough to hear all sides of it, not two sides, because there's always more than two. Right. So thank you for that. So thenevadaindependent.com is where you go. It's nice and wordy. But on Twitter, you're a good follow. All your reporters always link to stuff that they're covering as they're covering it real time. Their stories are all excellent, as we've gone over and over again. Can't say enough about how appreciative I am to have you guys in our community continuing to do what you do. I'm not going to let you off with just that, though. What I want to ask is, pick one. If there's an influence in your life who you would like other people to research or be exposed to, or if you have one exhortation, you could do both, I guess. I don't want to pin you down. If you have one exhortation to give to the audience, what would it be?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll try to answer both. I mean, I guess what I would say is there's a guy named Bob Stoddall who was a longtime news director at Channel 8, and I worked for Channel 8 and for a little while. And Bob actually fired me from my first TV gig for a variety of different reasons many, many years ago. And Bob and I are not only still friends, but Bob, who is truly a legendary journalist, is now the chairman of the board of the Nevada Independent. And he has been a guiding light for me, and he has written a lot over the years about history. He knows a lot more about Nevada history, and his sense of ethics and what's fair and what's not have helped mold me into the journalist I became. So he has really been a tremendous influence on me. As far as what I would exhort your listeners, you said it yourself, and so I'll say it again. Get out of your own head and your own echo chamber. Read a lot of different kinds of things, but be discerning. That's the most important thing. Anyone can put up a blog. Anyone can get an IP address and put something on the internet that may sound credible. Do your due diligence. Read as many different credible sources as you can, left, right, center, to try to understand issues better. That is how I became a better political journalist when I first started out, as I read all kinds of different people from different ends of the spectrum. And it was so helpful in trying to understand issues and how and why people felt about issues. And I just hope people care enough still to do that, Jake. That's the most important thing.
And there's so many things I want to ask. And I lied when I said I was going to let you off that. I have to ask one more. Are you guys going to do coverage of the election now that it's like this mail-in thing? Because that was spectacular a couple of years back. I loved watching the reporting unfold.
We have been. We've been doing previews of a lot of different races, both in the north and in the south, and even we're going to have a couple of rural ones that are published this week. We have an election page that I'm very proud of. People can go on the site and they'll say Election 2020, and we have rundowns of most of the major races in the state. And on election night, June 9th, we're going to do what we've done for several cycles, which we're going to be live.
That's what I meant.
On the web. We're going to be doing a Facebook Live and on the Indies TV page, where I will be co-anchoring with my number 2, Elizabeth Thompson. We'll have reporters on, but mostly it'll be about presenting results. And if and when races can be called, I will call them.
Yeah, that's what I meant was the TV thing. I totally misspoke, but yeah.
So yeah, we'll be doing that.
That was fun watching because I don't know, like precincts, are they still going to close? Or like, is the Secretary of State's tallying this live and we just don't know it?
Well, the problem with the mail balloting in terms of the results is that you can go and mail your ballot all the way up until the post office closes on June 9th. So they're going to be counting those ballots for a week. And so we may not have final results for a week after the election. Some of the races may be landslides and you can call them that night. I think that will be the case, but others might be too close to call.
So what I'm hearing is you guys and your staff will be on TV for a week straight. That'll be fun.
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, thank you, Jon Ralston, editor and founder of the Nevada Independent, for coming on the Noggin Notes podcast. I really appreciate it. This is super fun. And for those of you who don't know, I've followed Jon for a number of years. I hold him in a high degree of regard and have a great deal of respect for him. I think you should start teaching, but I know you have your plate full, but maybe at some point you should go back and teach in the university level, because I think you'd be a hoot to have as a professor.
You're not the first person who said that to me. And my dad was a professor, and he, may he rest in peace, used to say that to me too. And I think I would love teaching. And some of my friends have done it and told me I should do it. It's once I started the Independent, it's just been all consuming, and it's been by far the hardest and most rewarding thing I've done. But it is time consuming, Jake. Yeah. There's not a lot of free time that I would have to teach, as much as I think I would love it, and hopefully I'd be good at it.
Well, and it's not like you're not. I mean, every time you talk about your reporters, I can see you light up, and that's your mentorship, and that's your give back to the profession now, as I see it. So it's not like you're not being fed, and it's not like you're not giving back to the community and shepherding those fledgling people. They're not fledgling anymore, but you got interns who are fledgling, which is great. Right. So you're doing it anyway. It doesn't have to be in the formal brick and mortar classroom.
I appreciate that.
Well, on behalf of the Noggin Notes team and the Zephyr Wellness family, I wish you all great mental wellness. Take care.